In the description of this presentation, I wrote that becoming a master teacher required time deliberately spent and priorities carefully measured. And as it is at the administrative level, so it is for the teacher. Professional development will not assert itself. It won't keep you up at night worrying that you haven't done it. Parents will not call to complain that you haven't attended enough conferences. You must make the commitment. Your administrative team can only provide the opportunity. Before we embark on any work that occurs out of the classroom with regard to professional development, let's take a moment to think about our time with the children. A teacher must make time for observation. And if we think about it, and remember, Montessori was an observer. She didn't come up with ideas and then impose them on the children. She watched the children and learned from them and tried things and learned from them and changed and learned from them. That was the nature of the Montessori method. And it's something that is easily lost, hard to remember to do, hard to commit yourself to doing. But what I can say is that if you are not observing, there is nothing available in professional development that can really help you, because you don't know what you are doing. You don't, and what I mean by that is that you don't know what impact your influence is having on the children and the class in your charge. So although you may feel that you know what you're doing because you're getting better at lessons or classroom management, that's all about you. And teaching is all about the children. Observation is the only means by which a teacher can learn about the strengths and weaknesses of the class and then let this knowledge be the guide in making decisions. So let's consider together for a few minutes the evolution of teacher as an observer. And I put myself on the block as the person who will watch evolve. How many of you take time to observe? You can just ask. How many know you should? That's good. Okay. It can sort of, what I'm hoping in looking at this process of evolution is that it can give you a reality check of where you are on the journey. I'll start by saying it's hard for everyone. We're hardwired to do, not to watch. Active engagement satisfies our egos. It passes the time, and it makes us feel important. So, don't bother with the excuse, it's hard for me because I am, or it's hard for me because there are so many kids, or it's hard for me because we have a disruptive child. I can fast forward to the end of that story. For those who live by the mantra, it's hard for me, there will be no observation in your future, and no professional development. So what exactly is observation? What does it look like? Maria Montessori's words from The Secret of Childhood: the psychic life of a child must be observed in the same way that Faber made his observation of insects. He kept himself concealed so as not to disturb them as they were busy in their natural environment. So we're starting with a picture of an observer who actually isn't even seen by what he's observing, let alone interacting at the same time he's observing. Observation is exactly that, to watch carefully with attention to detail. There is nothing in the definition of observation that involves action, only watching and taking note. But I think for many of us, me for sure, that's easier said than done. So I'd like to take a few minutes to reflect on the nature of good observation and the evolution of one teacher as observer. I took some pictures last week chronicling my evolution as an observer, and although you'll see that I'm wearing the same clothes, I took the pictures all on the same day. The actual evolution took place over many years with some slipping and sliding back and forth. It wasn't, unfortunately, consistent, steady progress forward. I could make some progress and then think I could observe while doing things at the same time. So let's start at stage one. This is stage one. I'm in the midst of a lesson, but I think I can observe at the same time. So I'm considering this stage is the illusion that you're giving a lesson and you're observing. I'm not saying that you don't have an awareness of the class around you, which you need to have, but you aren't observing. That's the illusion stage. So, I deluded myself as I said it to believing that this was reasonable, that I could at once observe and give lessons at the same time. And even better yet, I could give direction and give lessons and observe at the same time. Multitasker for sure. The reality check for me in this way was always the snake game in the primary and the bead frame multiplication in the elementary, because I would look away for what was only 1 second. And when I looked back, all was lost. I couldn't figure out where they went. How could they have gone so wrong in the 1 second I looked back? So that was the reality check for me, that I needed to disabuse myself of this fantasy that I could give lessons and observe. So on to stage 2, what I called mobile observation. By this time I had accepted that I could not give good lessons and observe, but the emphasis was on good lessons, mind you. Not that I couldn't observe and do other things. I just couldn't give good lessons at the same time. I was no closer to realizing the true nature of observation. I only realized that I couldn't teach very well if I didn't attend to what I was teaching. So I felt that I had accepted this truth and made my firm commitment to observing at times other than when I was giving lessons. So now I could observe while walking around, while talking to children, while talking to other adults, doing any activity other than giving a lesson. That's what I had learned. But sit down, sit still, not necessary. I could grab an accurate snapshot of my class at any moment. I just needed to look around a bit on my way from one place to another. The reality check at this stage for me was when I put a video recorder in my room. I don't know if any of you have ever done that, and just recorded whatever went back and forth in front of the camera, which frequently was me. And so I got to see the results of my interventions that were based on careful observation. And here's a summary of what I saw. Now mind you, I was really excited to watch the tape. Fool that I was. I think I even made popcorn, settled down to see the glory of my class in action. But I was in for a bit of a surprise, because what I saw was more like this. I redirected children who were productively engaged. I chastised children who really didn't need my attention at all, or worse yet, were acting on a positive impulse that I had interrupted and misinterpreted during my mobile observation. And I also got to see that all of the commands that I barked out as I walked along, never looking back, were summarily ignored by children young and old alike. They didn't even feel the need to appear like they were going to do what I had asked. They just kept right on because they knew I was never going to look back. I was totally ineffective. Ouch. Stage 3. I call this stage the prison guard. During this phase, on the road to becoming an observer, I decided again that I had learned my lesson. In order to observe, I would have to stop walking for a second. Watch first for just a second, redirect, watch for another second, and then I'd done it. Observation for me at that time consisted of taking note of things that bothered me and busting it up. Wake-up call at this stage: simple aggravation and constant irritation convinced me that this could not be the answer. Observation could not be, I'm thinking to myself, it couldn't consist of just stopping every time I saw something I didn't like. So on to stage 4. I call this, hold on a second, the crooked finger. At this point, I had conceded that I was going to have to sit down if this observation thing were going to be of any value. So I sat down and observed and proceeded to continue doing all the things that I had done while walking and observing. Except now I was in a seated position. Slow learner, for sure. Instead of walking around and intervening while observing, I beckoned the children who I had a problem with to my side. So let's revisit the definition for a moment. He kept himself concealed so as not to disturb them as they were busy in their natural environment. Me, not so much. I think by this time Carol Alver, my mentor at the 3 to 6 level, had come into my life and my class. She visited my class many times over many years and really made me a better teacher in ways that I don't think I ever would have become without her. So on one of her many visits, she asked me to sit with her and observe. And it became quickly painfully clear to me that I was not supposed to be beckoning children to my side while I was observing. So it was on to stage 5. I don't know if you have this expression, but we call this stink eye in the States. Okay? So we're on to stink eye. I resorted now to what I call observation, punctuated with intervention by a disapproving look. I just couldn't. I mean, so I'm saying for some of you, maybe it's not so hard, I hope. But again, I eventually realized that my interventions were inexorably altering the very social beings and systems that I was trying to observe. So I finally got to where I stopped messing around with what the children were doing, and I was on to stage 6. And this is build my ego stage. At this stage, as I said, I finally stopped intervening. But, and this was a big but, I felt that if the children asked me questions, they needed me to answer them. There was no one else who would do it. It had to be me who could do as good a job. So I couldn't initiate activity with the children while observing, but I had to respond to them, right? It was a primary class, come on. I mean, what were the children going to do if there was no more cotton? Go to the supply shelf themselves? It had to be handled by me. So, as I said, I think we've clearly established that I'm a slow learner, for sure, but I eventually realized that what I was observing didn't go on pause while I answered questions. And so, the thing I was observing would continue to evolve, and when I looked back, many of the conclusions I was drawing, again, were erroneous, because I missed everything that happened in the middle. It was around this period again that my mentor once more sailed in and righted my ship. After being in my class one morning, we met at the end of the day, and she talked about things she had observed, many positive interactions and work, much to be proud of, she said. But, and I don't know if any of you had a consultation, there's always a but. She said, aren't you exhausted? Now I was a little confused, little suspicion of the question itself, but unable to figure out where she was going. So I confessed I was exhausted, yes, wondering, of course, whether that was a good thing or a bad thing. And she said, that's because you do everything for all the children. You answer every question, you respond to every request for help. Still unsure, thinking, I kind of tried to keep an inscrutable expression somewhere between agreement and disapproval, not to show my hand that I was really not sure. And finally she said, this is the work of the children. Class management is not the sole responsibility of the teacher. It's not? I said in my head, of course. Oh dear, I was woefully off course, I realized, and it was time for drastic measures. So I'm going to let you look at this slide for a moment before I name it. It looks pretty good, doesn't it? My mouth is closed, question present, no stink eye going on, body still, not answering any questions. I call this stage Pavlov's dog. Do you see anything out of place in the picture? Perhaps the jar of dollars on the left? I learned this from my coworker, Lisa Sandin, and here was her rule. If she allowed herself during an observation to become involved in any way, in anything while observing, she had to pay her assistant $1. Her assistant had some good weeks. But finally, as I was getting closer, once I experienced what observation was truly supposed to be, I no longer confused it with what I had been doing in the past. I was at the final stage. Observer as observer for the first time. Children could do what they would. I was not getting involved during my observation. Some children had the stamina to stand next to me with the Mrs. Calise, Mrs. Calise, Mrs. Calise, Mrs. Calise, perhaps a hand on her shoulder. What's wrong with this lady? But whether you have gotten to the final stage or are stuck somewhere earlier on the continuum, you'll find that that observation is a habit that requires discipline and self-control for some of us more than others. Even once you get there, you will still slip back, so you have to be ever vigilant. I want to reiterate what I said earlier. If you do not observe, your advancement as a teacher has a ceiling, which you will never be able to break through without observation. So I hope that the vivid description of all the pseudo-observation stages that will serve you well in your classes when you observe in the future, and that the lessons I had to learn over years and years of time will haunt you faster than they haunted me.